welcome to this interview series that we're doing. I think just to start with, could you give us an intro about your name and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Jordan, and I'm the ventures lead at ATOM Accelerator DAO for the Cosmos Hub. We're doing ecosystem growth in the form of grants and venture investments. And yeah, we're here to grow ATOM and bring value accrual to ATOM and Cosmos Hub.
We're going to jump into this questions about the hub and more. Just to begin with, what do you think is super unique about Cosmos that other blockchain or platforms don't offer?
So I saw a tweet, and I don't know if I can quote a specific person because I've seen multiple people post this. Some people liken Ethereum to Microsoft or IBM, Solana, Aptos Sui to Apple, and Cosmos to Linux. And I think that's a very powerful comparison or analogy, if you will, in the sense that Cosmos really brings ultimate customizable tech. So whatever you want built, it's the best place to build your layer one, build your app chain. If you need a permission chain, if you need specific modules, the tooling is all there. And even if the tooling isn't there, there are teams that continue to develop and iterate upon the tech stack to build what they need for their custom L1 or their custom app chain. So I think it's the best place to, build custom tech within Web3.
What's the vision of your team for the coming 6-12 months? And especially is there something that the ATOM holders should look out for? So
from the venture side at ATOM Accelerator DAO, for the next 6 to 12 months or so, you can expect venture investments on behalf of Cosmos Hub. Cross-chain ecosystem collaborations, teams that are building upon Cosmos Hub ICS, funding these teams. And that way, when ATOM Accelerator DAO invests into these teams, there's an 80-20 split, where 80% of the equity and tokens belong to the Cosmos Hub community pool, which is governed by the ATOM token holders, the ATOM community. And so by that 80-20 split, essentially the community gets to take part in these early stage investments that ultimately drive value multiple ways to ATOM and Cosmos Hub. So you can expect Cosmos Hub ICS chains, teams building upon Cosmos Hub ICS chains like Neutron, for example. So a recent one that we announced was Drop. And so Drop is they're part of the Lido DAO Alliance, and basically they're bringing their version of LSTs to Neutron and the wider interchain in Cosmos. They're starting off with DATOM and DTIA, and it's really exciting with what they're bringing to the table.
So how can Cosmos Hub plan to incentivize more chains to adopt ICS, especially for in a long-term sustainable manner?
One of the most OG tokens. Reasons to adopt Hub ICS is security through Hub ICS in and of itself as a product. We also have permissionless PSS, which now makes it easier. You don't have to go through a lengthy governance process. But then there's also other offerings like liquidity. So you can get liquidity through Hydro. You can get funding through grants or venture funding from ATOM Accelerator DAO. I would say because of IBC, and this isn't inherent specifically to Hub ICS, but this may incentivize teams to launch with Hub ICS as opposed to other blockchain ecosystems, like say a roll-up on Ethereum. IBC is a big reason to allow more interoperability within the Cosmos ecosystem. And hopefully as more interoperable solutions come out, I think we'll be seeing some come out within the next 6 to 12 months or so. It's going to be easier for teams to have interoperability within Cosmos, but even outside of Cosmos and beyond. And that's going to be an attractive option, especially for new teams going forward.
When did you first hear about Cosmos ecosystem? What was your introduction to Cosmos?
I don't remember what year it was, to be honest, but I remember I was watching a YouTube, a live recording of when the first IBC transaction occurred. Or at least IBC went live. I don't remember the specifics, to be honest, but I remember thinking this was the coolest thing ever as I was researching this concept that researchers were talking about. It was, at the time, they were calling it layer zero tokens, and or layer zero interoperability tech. And so the big ones at the time was Cosmos, and Polkadot. I saw Cosmos being a leader in this realm, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, edit this out if it's not correct, but I think it was between Cosmos Hub and Iris Network, and I think that was the first IBC transaction that occurred. Yeah, but it was just that was my first exposure to Cosmos, but repeated exposure, I would see, hey, you should stake Atom because you'll get all of these airdrops as more app chains launch, as more L1s come into the Cosmos ecosystem. Usually a lot of these teams and a lot of these new L1s and app chains will airdrop their tokens typically to Atom stakers because they want to attract and get the attention of the OG Cosmos community. And so as a user many years ago, that incentivized me and really made me want to buy Atom, stake it, and then also participate in the interchain.
We're going to jump into the segment about Hydro because that's also something that's like sort of rumbling and building up a lot of momentum. So,
yep.
What excites you about Hydro's potential, especially for enhancing liquidity, and it also incorporates like this governance mechanism, for the community?
I think Hydro is an interesting experiment because it's going to allow the community to have a voice in terms of where the liquidity will go and how it will be used. I think we'll see Hydro evolve over time, and I think it'll be interesting to see where that liquidity goes and where the community chooses to direct that liquidity. I also think it's an interesting mechanism in terms of being able to commoditize Atom's liquidity, and by allowing token stakers and users of the Hydro platform to participate in Hydro, I believe that will, you might have to edit that, I think it will generate revenue for Hydro users as well, i.e. Atom holders on using Hydro. You might have to edit that one.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Do you envision Hydro's like governance practice or like this mechanism also influencing other Cosmos chains to adopt like a similar model where like?
Yeah, I see potentially Hydro expanding past using just Atom. I think it'll be interesting to see how it will function with Atom because Atom is one of the most liquid tokens within Cosmos. It's one of the most recognizable tokens within Cosmos. When you say the word Cosmos, what's the first thing that you think of? And for a lot of people, that's Atom, especially if you're coming from outside of the Cosmos ecosystem. You hear the word Cosmos, your first thought is Atom as a token. And so it's really interesting to see how Hydro will function with Atom and then how it'll evolve because typically teams would request liquidity from the community pool, but now instead they're being directed to Hydro, but this is also monetizing and hopefully giving more value accrual back to Atom stakers and holders through Hydro. But I do see Hydro potentially expanding past Atom, and it will be interesting to see how it will work past Atom, but also can Atom still be a part of the conversation as it expands past other assets? And because then you could still, let's say, you commoditize the liquidity of maybe TIA tokens or maybe stable coins, for example, and maybe there's value accrual and fees going to Atom stakers or the community pool or what have you. But I'm not familiar with to be honest, like don't include this, but I'm not too familiar with the Hydro model because it's not out yet and we'll see.
So we'll jump into the rapid fire section. So the idea is something quick, brief and fun, hopefully, Okay. Atom as a token, buy, sell or avoid?
Buy. Because this is rapid fire, right? I can't give reasons.
No, okay. So
buy.
Atom, stake or sell?
Stake.
Why do you buy Atom?
I buy Atom because, well, if you're buying Atom now, the risk reward ratio is pretty good. So you're not buying at a high, you're not buying at a top, and it can only go up from here, right?
Why hold Atom?
That's a good question. I wouldn't hold Atom, I would stake Atom. So I'm not sure if that was a trick question. I would stake Atom if I'm holding it. I actually wouldn't hold it, I would stake it because of the benefits. You get the yield, there's liquid staking options for Atom. You can also have potential airdrops like I mentioned before. I still think that airdropping to Atom stakers is a great way to get visibility for your L1 or your app chain. And it's a good way to bootstrap your user base and also reward the OG Cosmos community.
Who do you think should be the CEO of Cosmos?
That's a tough one. I think Sunny would be a good CEO of Cosmos. You know, he just seems to have, he knows how to iterate, has a really, he's had a track record of developing good products. I think Sunny would do a good job being CEO of Cosmos.
So name one challenge that's facing Cosmos Hub right now.
I'd say because of the fact that Cosmos Hub doesn't have permissionless smart contracts like most other L1s do, contributors to Cosmos Hub have to be creative in what products they develop and how value accrual occurs for ATOM and Cosmos Hub. So I'd say that's one of the biggest challenges, is because you don't have permissionless smart contracts, and you also have to figure out the value accrual problem. Hopefully Cosmos Hub ICS is one of those things that bring value accrual. Hydro may be another, but I do have a lot of faith in Cosmos Hub ICS, and especially if you can aggregate other security options like Bitcoin security with Babylon. There's other security options out there like mesh security, but I think there's also I guess that's type of security, but like you can also get other tokens. So I know Eigenlayer and Symbiotic, they're going token agnostic, so they started with ETH the token, but then I think they're realizing, wait, other users want to utilize different tokens and other forms of security for the AVSs and applications that are using security. So I think you can potentially bring that to Hub ICS. I think also if Hub ICS could expand past just app chains or validate, if Hub ICS can bring security beyond just the Cosmos ecosystem, I think that'll be a huge upgrade, in my opinion.
Describe ICS in one word.
Security.
What's your dream collaboration for ATOM Accelerator DAO?
Cosmos Hub or ATOM Accelerator DAO?
ATOM Accelerator DAO.
I would say, maybe not a specific name, but I would like to bring a really vibrant blockchain game to the Cosmos Hub ecosystem and Hub ICS. I think a game with a lot of users generating a lot of demand for block space would be huge for Cosmos Hub.
Which sector do you want to benefit from Hydro first in Cosmos?
The AEZ and Hub ICS.
Governance or innovation, what do you want the hub to put a gas pedal on?
Innovation.
What's the biggest ATOM myth that you hear all the time?
I don't have an answer for that one, to be honest. Or I guess, do you guys have ideas? I don't know.
I don't know, I mean, there are a lot of people have theories on this thing, so I thought if you have something on it, otherwise it's okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything for that one, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, your go-to tools or dApp or platforms to use on Cosmos?
In Cosmos in general?
Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah. I think IBC is one of the best innovations that Cosmos can offer, especially being able to just take your tokens from one chain to another. It's pretty seamless.
That's a wrap. We sort of went through all the questions.
Okay.
Do you want to give a cool catchphrase or something that you want people to, for Cosmos Hub, for people watching?
Catchphrase. I don't know. I don't know. That's a hard one, man. You're putting me on the spot. Yeah.
Something make Cosmos great again, or the eat, sleep, stake, repeat, something like that.
Eat, sleep, stake, repeat. I like that's good. Let's make ATOM great again. in case if that one's better than the other one. Sure. I want to. Let's make ATOM great again.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good.